Hey, Grigori, welcome, man. Thank you so much for making time for me.
It's a sincere pleasure and
Yeah,
so happy to be here.
yeah, me too. You've been really supportive of me for at least a year now, I would say, maybe even more on Twitter. We've been interacting. You've been very supportive of my posts, of my podcast. I really appreciate that. Looking forward to, and so I think you're a musician, you're a Satanist. Okay, I think it's fair to say. So, looking forward to learning a bit about you. Of course, about Satanism. That's got to come up. Um, because this podcast, after all, is a search for truth, meaning, purpose. You know this.
Of
For
course.
me, it's first it was focused more on the political journey, and that's still very relevant and ongoing. But with these alien narratives and all this, spiritual concepts always having appealed to me and been interesting. I'm
Of
just one
course.
of these people who likes to think about deep stuff and big ideas and where are we as a world, as people. So, look, I think you'll be an interesting person to talk to. So, thank you again for joining me.
I have on a regular basis really enjoyed the way you conduct discussions, and I think you are very open-minded, and you enjoy tackling everything that you're thinking about,
That's right.
and just I don't want to say obsessing, but you were
Yes.
you're very thorough with all your
No, I
investigations.
can I can be obsessive. No question about it. And so hopefully on the right things, you don't want to go too far. You can
Yeah,
absolutely get lost in thinking about these big topics.
sure zones.
It's a great point. You can. And so coming you want to balance yourself living on 2 feet on the ground, but also being
Yes.
interested in all these high concepts. So that is certainly part of this journey overall, to find yourself, to understand yourself,
Mhm.
and to thrive in all dimensions and so forth. So,
Yes, that is an excellent word to be using here.
mm, so let me tell you real quick where I'm coming from, just as a quick religious
Yes.
perspective. Um, Grew up going, I did go to Hebrew school, Jewish family, not particularly religious, Reform Jewish,
Mm.
was bar mitzvahed. So I have that basis. Did go to Jewish day camp in the summer, not sleepaway as many Jews do. I didn't get that classic Jewish experience. Let's go to sleepaway camp. That would have been fun.
Very
But I got
much.
the day camp, and so I guess I'm trying to paint this picture of I was raised to understand that I'm Jewish, that Israel, for example, is an important place for me
Sure.
on some level, at least, certainly, and that I am a Jew. Also grew up in a nice suburb doing the Pledge of Allegiance, very proud American. And so when I was 16 or so, I remember thinking at the time, this is like a milestone where I was trying to convince this girl I had a crush on that I was cool or whatever. And so we're on the phone and somehow we're talking and talking, and I'm trying to impress her with my intellect. And I'm making the argument that God isn't real and that cavemen were just explaining thunder and lightning. And so doing that whole thing. So I had a phase definitely where I was more towards atheist. And for whatever reason, man, but nonetheless, I always prayed generally, I would always find myself praying from
Fascinating.
time to, and then I've leaning back into it over the years for whatever reasons. I got married. All of it. Thank you very much. My wife happens to be from an observantly Jewish family as well, so leaning back into it. But
Mazel tov, by the way.
thank you so much. And so I believe in God. I've come back to it. I was raised this way, and I do. And so, just giving you my little background.
Sure, sure.
So, anyway, tell me a little bit about yourself.
um, Background wise, with all that, I would say here's the here's the extremely condensed version of all of it where I'm concerned. I was I was raised by two secular parents.
Hmm.
Uh, my father was, as far as I ever really knew, I never got to dive into that topic with him, frankly. My father was an atheist. My mother was an atheist with some Buddhist leanings, but they were or at least she was. I know he read to me several times as a child, but I don't recall any of the specific like religious literature. Either way, my mother was insistent that because of the culture that I have all around me, that I be fluent in, at least moderately, in biblical stuff and Shakespeare stuff, and
Hmm.
through all this, and because my grandmother on my father's side was I'm going to say Southern Baptist. She gifted me at about age 4 a children's Bible, and for whatever reason, and enforced by school attitudes, because they were, and this was the way that teachers weren't teachers weren't professing this, so to speak, but in little like bits of the downtime when they were teaching, they would have the attitude that, like, we have Greco-Roman mythology and Egyptian mythology, and then we have Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, so we figured this out now,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just like Christianity is just the way to go. And so from about 4 to, I'm going to say about 18, age of 18, I called myself a Christian. The only times I ever really went to church were during a a brief time in high school, dating someone from another high school whose mother insisted that my that our dates be basically me being taken to church,
Hmm.
and and so
The things a guy will do.
yeah. And the funniest part, of course, is that we we kissed, but we didn't go anywhere beyond there. So it was at the same time. I was at that point actually one of the like wait until marriage types anyway,
Hmm.
but I was also cool with fooling around. But
Right.
regardless, that didn't that didn't go well. But as I'm sure you're shocked to hear,
Yeah,
but
young love.
the um more on that in a while. But
Mm.
by sometime after that, and by sometime after that I mean literal months, because I remember because it wasn't that long after that. But uh, I lost my faith. I'm not really sure exactly all of what led to it,
Hmm.
but it was the possibility that Jesus had never been real. Like that, I was introduced to that idea, and then somehow that just completely shattered everything that I was believing in. So I
Like he never existed as a historical person, even.
right, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Um, just that being introduced to that idea just completely threw me for a loop, and
Right.
I
Hmm.
didn't denounce everything. I mean, like, denounce anything, because like I wasn't part of a specific tradition. You know, I was raised as I was raised in a very secular way, and called myself a Christian, even though, let's be honest, I wasn't so good at it. But
Right. Nonetheless, it was still a profound shock to your worldview.
yeah, exactly. And releasing that was its own thing. Then it was a few years of dabbling. I mean, sure, dabbling. Between that, I was like volleying back and forth between a a simple atheism,
Hmm.
and various ideas in. Are you familiar with Wicca?
Well, isn't the lead singer of Godsmack? Is he?
Yes, true.
Yes. So
Thanks,
tell me
Sully.
about it.
Um,
Yeah.
it's like if
It's like a naturalistic, what do you call it? What's the word I'm looking for in Europe?
neo pagan.
Yeah, pagan. Right,
Yeah,
neo-pagan.
yeah. It's a whole. It's that whole thing. It is. effectively, with apologies to Sully if he ever sees this, from
You won't.
perspective from perspectives like mine, it is Christianity without Christ,
Mm.
which effectively makes it Judaism in some ways.
Mm.
But I'm
Mm.
saying though that the kind of like Jesus's teachings and whatnot, but remove Jesus from the equation. It's like this is basically Wicca. It's like you say it's goddess
Mm.
worship and all that, but it's like this is just very still turn the other cheeky and
Mm.
it's very very pacifistic and whatnot, and but so I was going through different ideas of that and realizing that I was that I wanted I was a religious fellow by nature,
Mm-hmm.
and that in pursuing Wicca, I realized that I like some of the ideas that are going on, that some of the more abstract concept like the witchy stuff and all that,
Mm-hmm.
but I
Why? Because
wasn't
like it's like fun and interesting and magical. I mean, like seriously.
I all of that is true, but also like the idea that I am affecting the world around me in some way, like
Mm-hmm.
it's like,
Agency.
but yeah, agency, in the same way. I mean, Christians will say that Christians have existed an interesting tension between accepting God's plan as it is and like actually praying for something that supposedly
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't actually be in God's plan and all that. Um,
Mm.
and I'm not going to touch that right now, but but I like that and the just the general spookiness of everything that was it's I don't want to just say the dark aesthetic, but like the metaphysical underpinnings, if you might, if you will, of said aesthetic was
Mm-hmm.
just the Halloweenness of it all
Mm-hmm.
was very appealing to me at the time, and I realized in pursuing it that really I wasn't really taking this very seriously, was I? And so I volleyed back and forth, and eventually I realized, all in the span of a few years here, that I really like this wasn't quite for me when everything was considered, and I wanted I wanted to know what was for me, if there was such a thing. Like I was under the impression that the worldviews that I had, that could be grouped under some kind of religion, were it's not likely that my worldview is so unique that it has
Mm-hmm.
never been made into something before. And that being the case, I'd like to investigate and see what am I?
Just like my search.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. That was
Searching
that.
for that ideology. There must here. Tell me if we're in total sync here in the sense that
Please.
we believe in principles, we understand the concept of principles, and we understand that the world is not all black and white all the time, but ultimately there should be you talk about getting past the labels. I'm sure you've had this thought, well, I want to get past the label, but okay, but it's at a certain point labels have meaning, you know.
Right.
So what are the beliefs, what are the principles, and help me find the one that I'm most attracted to. There's got to be one.
Precisely. Yes,
Right.
and which is perhaps why I have why I am as supportive of you in in your direction toward more Orthodox Judaism
Mm.
than perhaps other Satanists might be, because I'm seeing in you what I was experiencing too, is
Hmm.
the I there could be a whole. journey that I could go on here, but what I will say for the purposes of condensation,
Mm.
condensing, is that I want to go into a whole
Do it.
whole
Go
whole
ahead.
str- I that's all right. I was Here's the thing. I, in the middle of all this, went to see a movie called Paranormal Activity.
Right.
That scared me out of my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so confused as to why. Because have you seen it, first of all?
Yeah, I think I have seen that first, at least the first one. Yeah, it was
Good.
good.
Yeah, that's the only one that I'm talking about here.
Right.
Okay, so
It
you know
was a
how
classic in the sense it was like almost revolutionary in the genre
apparently,
because it
yeah.
was like in the just kind of like a POV documentary style,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
Observation
yeah.
from the house, right?
Yeah, that's the one. Okay, so you know how with all of what was going on here, they show like Baphomet and like demon stuff and whatnot, like on the computer when they're like researching, or at least
Mhm.
when she's researching, I suppose, all of like what's going on. I left the theater scared out of my mind, and I had to sleep with with my door open for an entire year,
Mm.
and I was just bewildered because at that point and at this point, I I didn't believe in any of that stuff.
Mhm.
Like that was
You're a
completely
rational materialist, probably. Ish.
ish.
Okay.
I was at very least an atheist. I still am, but
Mm.
that was so far removed from everything that was going on in my mind, and my my reaction to this fear was to say, all right, let's just investigate this until it's dead in in my head,
Right.
and see what's going on, because
Confront it.
yeah, exactly, because because that is the best way to erase any fear about basically anything, is to shine a light on it.
Right.
And so I'm looking into all of this for probably several months at some point, and I find I find myself browsing on the website of the Church of Satan,
Mhm.
and and I'm reading the basic principles, like the nine satanic statements, the rules of the earth, the sins, etc., etc., and I and like the summary from my current high priest is more or less like it's Darwinism writ large, with uh, um, an acknowledgement that we humans enjoy like theatricality, and we might as well put that to use for
Mm.
both stimulating and world affecting purposes. Put it that way. And I'm like, this is actually, like, dare I say it, right up my alley. And I found myself ordering a copy of the Satanic Bible from eBay, of all places, and I I read it. I'm going to say 4 times. Yeah, it must have been 4 times. Must have been 4 times. Um, 4 times in 4 months, and each time absorbing
Right. Just connected
more of
more.
like that. It's connecting more and realizing that. Well, the first time I'm going, I was kind of shocked that I thought, like, I'm agreeing with everything this book is saying.
Right. I'm
And
home.
then and then it keeps, and then as I keep going, I'm like double and triple checking just to make
Mhm.
sure, like, am I really reading what I think I'm reading here?
Mm.
And eventually I get to the point where it's I am seeing that the dogma that is and the in your Bible, um, there is there are prescribed behaviors, let's say, right? And and prescribed beliefs and whatnot in order to go the way you're going.
Hmm.
With my book, um, it's the case that this book doesn't actually try to convert its reader. It's the book is here listing out, here are perspectives and here are behaviors that the Satanist does or thinks this way. And if you align with all of these and you see yourself in these pages, well, hi, you're a Satanist. And if not, if like even one of these principles is says like, well, I don't know about that, then great. Then you're a fellow traveler, but you're a little bit mismatched with Satanism, and we're happy to have you along as a comrade in arms, so to speak. But you're not one of us, but you do know at least now what we are.
So
And
what is that? I mean, I know it's a complex question, I'm sure, but can you boil down the essence of Satanism to me? I know you said Darwinism writ large, mixed with theatrical for a dual purpose, both in terms of
sure,
stimulating oneself
sure.
and affecting the world. So, are you saying this is individuality? Uh, you take care of your look out for yourself primarily, and basically do magic. I mean, I'm not trying to be silly here, but to do magic to affect the world as well.
You can be as silly as you'd like to be.
Is that on
I
the
do believe
track
in
or off the
magic.
track?
Your the details will have to be ironed out, and I can do that in just a minute.
Yeah.
But you're like 90% of the way there. The I would say we're starting with the notion that the gods, the various gods of various mythologies throughout history have been produced by men of their era.
Hmm.
And in and in recognizing this, it's perfectly fine to recognize the human tendency to worship these creations, but also recognize that by worshiping whatever god, you are you are then by proxy worshiping the person who created that god. And with that being the case, is it not more sensible then to worship a god of your own making and thus yourself?
Hmm.
From there, we get into a really intense, radical taking of responsibility for every single thing you do, every single thing, good or bad.
Hmm.
And it is it doesn't lend itself well to a victim mentality, I gotta tell you. But past that, then
And that
there's
I understand. That makes sense. The concept of self ownership, agency. This is a good thing. No doubt
Mhm,
about
mhm,
that.
mhm, mhm. And I would say we see Satan as the cosmic principle, let's say, of representing all of the ideas attached thereto, like individualism,
Hmm.
let's say responsible rebellion, i.e., like when it makes sense to rebel. I'm a fairly, I would say, traditional person, but I it's all about, it's about meaning for me, and and like having a sense of humor where others don't see it, and being selective about who we love. Thanks, Magister Bill. And yeah, taking control of one's own life. And here is where I can point to magic. I think I can do this verbatim. The the definition of magic offered in the Satanic Bible is as follows: the change in situations or events according to one's will, which would, using normally accepted methods, be unchangeable. And you'll notice that there's no real supernatural connection here. It's the because the what we call lesser magic is just basically applied psychology, and that is like for I mean, for instance, you can you can imagine a
Like Trump
workplace.
imposing his will.
Okay, so frankly, the shortest answer to that is yes. I have seen a lot. There are many who would probably disagree with me, and that's fine. But I would say Trump is, and the way he has been handling himself, and the campaigns, especially when people are not holding him back. Especially during like last year's campaign. Whew, that was a whirlwind of lesser magic
Hmm.
and interactivity that would obviously propelled him to where he wanted to be. And um, then greater magic would be the ritual stuff, which eventually it is, as my high priest describes, a self-transformational psychodrama, meaning that
Hmm.
everything what you're thinking of when you think of satanic ritual is going to end up being basically what devil worshippers would prefer you believe. The actual reality is that like I do go into a room and do some very grim and dark looking things, and the practical reality is that what I'm doing is feeling my emotions on a level that most people that would give most people like something close to a heart attack,
Hmm.
and and flushing myself out
Hmm.
projecting as well as I can all of that good old bioelectrical energy out to to affect my will upon the world, so to speak.
Hmm.
And I am projecting my own sense of self onto the the sigil of Baphomet over over the altar. And
Hmm.
I'm obviously it is extremely unscientific and all that, but also I can say with certainty that I have 100% success rate. So
In terms of having just straight up effects, just like straight up, hey, I want this, boom.
yes,
Hmm.
it's obviously I have to get to a specific fever pitch point. Let's
Hmm.
say if I'm going to be doing this in the ritual chamber and actually like bringing it out and affecting it and all that, but I have thrown very few. Let's say I've done a large handful, let's say, of compassion rituals,
Hmm.
and those have always they've always either helped me immensely or the person or the person for whom I was doing them was got the results they wanted. Let's say that.
Hmm.
And then I've thrown relatively few curses, and I have,
Hmm.
let's say, when doing them, after doing them rather, the person I was trying to affect was in my life no longer.
Hmm. Are they in anyone's life?
That is the question, and I honestly don't care.
Hmm.
The-
Well, yeah,
sometimes I get news that they're like doing something or whatever, and honestly, that's fine. Like I did, the entire point is just no longer to have this person in my life and making me miserable.
hmm. So I guess people's fear is that we are governed by a group of people who are Satanists who practice magic. Is this a legitimate concern for people? Is it a legitimate? Is it true?
No.
Is it and should it be concerning? And is Satanism evil? Take a stab at all that.
uh, Remarkably simple answers to all these, frankly. The Okay, so Alex Jones, I admire so much of the work that he does. I do, but also, unfortunately, he has been for quite a long time the purveyor of faulty at best conspiratorial ideas, and obviously he's going to disagree, but I what people are what people are meaning when they say something like that is that the basic conspiracy Freemason idea, which is like as you're saying, the Illuminati, like we're going to go like way up in the Freemason hierarchy and find out that the leaders actually when they get to the top, instead of the god that you worship, for instance, being the supreme being, it actually gets like flipped around, and then suddenly it's Satan, Lucifer, whatever you want to call him. And that's silly to me for a number of reasons, but that is it is a relic of, ooh, I'm sure you'll know this one. A relic that I think dates back to probably the Protocols of the Elders of Zion,
Hmm. Hmm.
and it's just so it's absurd at best. I would say it's very.
Hmm.
Uh, it is. Funnily, it should be mentioned here that the that child and animal sacrifice in Satanism
Hmm.
is explicitly forbidden.
Why?
Well, for the thing is, why would anyone really be why is a person in a religion performing a sacrifice? It is because that the death throes with like the energy and whatnot. It's like a sacrificial offering, right? Right.
Right?
So with that being said, to whom am I sacrificing?
Hmm. Hmm.
Because there's no.
So if the entity you're worshiping is yourself, well, you clearly exist without the sacrifice. You don't need that sacrifice.
And the like precisely, and the so the this is why, incidentally, I get along not at all with people who actually worship the devil,
Hmm.
because once you bring that
So
worshipful
is that a
element.
big fractional split within Satanism between people
No,
who actually worship themselves and people who worship the devil?
no, and let me tell you why. The the kind of split that you'd be talking about there is akin, you would think, to, for instance, like Catholics and Protestants, right? The the fact of the matter is, and I invite anyone listening to this and you, Mr. Eskow, to to research this as much as you want. Show me, if you can, an example of a group designating themselves as Satanists before 1966 when Anton LaVey did it. Also, also providing a, let's say, coherent philosophy of some sort, actually making it into a religion.
Hmm.
You can't do it. So the idea of theistic Satanism, or as they like to call themselves, flies in the face of what the actual founding document of Satanism says about it. And you go further, and then I'm sure you've probably at least heard of the Satanic Panic at this point.
Yeah,
During that era, which was a lovely time in the Church of Satan, I'm sure you'll probably be shocked to
makes
hear.
sense.
um,
Why was it lovely?
uh, yes, there's so many, so many spokespeople for the Church of Satan had to be constantly going on talk shows and showing exactly why, as I am doing right now, why the ideas associated with satanic ritual abuse and other such absurdities were not a thing. That if you go across the entire United States, and in fact the world, you will not find an actual instance of someone like someone someone following the tenets espoused in this book, and
And sacrificing
and
someone.
do and doing all this nonsense, even like breeding to bring forth a baby to sacrifice. It's like, no, you don't understand. We want these people dead more than you do, because they're aside from the obvious like societal ills and implications there, it's just like, really, you gotta drag Satan into this? Hasn't he suffered enough? But the so that was a whole thing. But along with that, then people in Christian pews started promulgating the connected ideas, and people on the internet, as they are so wont to do, started latching onto this. And but also when they also, to the people who are applying enough critical thinking to the idea, the fact that they have to call themselves theistic Satanists at all, rather than just simply Satanists, is very telling, because
Mm.
that means that they acknowledge that the Satanism that came before it wasn't like them at all.
Mm.
As far as I know, as far as I am concerned, Satanism began as an actual religion in 1966, and then it was codified in 1969 with the release of the Satanic Bible. And now I get to be on podcasts like this, and I don't want to say promoting it, but explaining it to interested viewers within the confines of its priesthood. That's nice. Um,
So let me ask you a question. What is
Right.
the belief then, the metaphysical belief about reality? If we are practicing greater magic, uh, what does it all mean in terms of consciousness, in terms of individuality, in terms of souls? What is the reality worldview here?
Well, you're going to get various different answers from various different Satanists. It is very there's a very much of an openness to all of this, but also it's going to be very hard to find a Satanist who talks about souls in the same kind of sense that you probably are.
Mhm.
There isn't a spiritual element to this religion. You see, it is only there's an entire chapter about this in the Satanic Bible, but there is there is only the carnal, and that's all there ever was. Consciousness
So, so,
is a thing, but
so this is a materialist perspective.
not necessarily, but there are several members of the church who fall into that umbrella. Yes,
Because if
there
carnal is all there is, that's pretty materialist.
there is also a sense of um, philosophical idealism, for instance. If you can, if you will, imagine a sort of corporeal idealism in which in which the aspects of the world are the various facets of the world are more malleable to one's own will if one knows. Since I know you're a fan of Scott Adams, I'll bring in kind of simulation theory into this.
Mm.
um, um, Imagine, if you will, with that simulation theory, but with more flesh and bone, more the 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 digitalized ideas in there are like in your head, in anyone's head. It's and
Mm.
who have the people who have the greatest agency are the people who can affect the world the most. And within that analogy, I suppose magic, in the sense that I have been talking about, is essentially hacking the simulation.
Yeah. Interesting. So definitely a big psychology component. And this is where, I was just getting deep on Carl Jung the other day and tying it into
Perfect.
right. I mean, that stuff is really interesting. So I'm gonna talk about that in a solo episode soon, kind of connecting it to all these various theories about UAPs and non-human intelligence. But I guess what I want to ask you now is, so according to Satanism, as you understand it, there's no other entity, there's no greater being, there's nothing to fear, there's no entities to fear, nothing.
Precisely.
Mm,
Precisely. That which is in itself, for a lot of people, terrifying.
mm.
I think, but let's say Satanists who read the Satanic Bible and see themselves in those pages, they slash we see it as liberating.
Sure. Yeah, makes sense. So what is the view then of religious people? It must be sympathetic. You must feel bad for people who are enslaved by their devotion to God. I mean, I'm not trying to be, really.
No,
I
yeah,
mean,
no, yeah. That I just, but it is that's comical. There is a multitude, I would say, of perspectives on this, but I would say personally, I am very. I understand that that the Christ folk, the Jews, the Sikhs, the Hindus, the Muslims, etc., all of the world. Honestly, that is where they're drawn. That might just be what they need, and I am happy to let all of you enjoy what it is that you feel drawn to, so long as you just leave me alone.
Right. That's fair. That's very fair.
It's going to be like it's as a lot of as some kids today say, couldn't be me. Like
Right.
that's the idea of being of well, since you used the word enslaved to the
Right.
the
Right.
the greater entity is like, oh, this is awful. How do I get how is the best way to get out of this? I need the exit yesterday.
Where's the bathroom? Is there a window open? So, what is the principle? Is there one for goodness in Satanism? Why would anyone behave morally?
The some of this is the basis for some of this is described, I would say, in the Satanic Bible as there are descriptive attitudes and perspectives about about the way we are behaving and about the way we are approaching different people, different creatures, etc., etc. That to me, it's just basically it's just like the sensible thing. The as for why are we behaving morally, so to speak? Um,
Hmm.
my personal response to it is that in having the duty to myself to ensure that I have the greatest amount of freedom possible, and that I promote within myself the like that those principles of standing up for that for which I have that I feel I must stand. Um, I am fiercely then protective of me and mine, and it really depends on what we're talking about when we're discussing what is moral and whatnot. But
Hmm.
but various answers can go to various different kinds of questions at that
If there
point.
were no laws on the books, like in a satanic society, would there be rampant just whatever impulse following and that would be fine?
I would because there are so few Satanists, like actual, like legit Satanists,
Hmm.
I would say no, that would probably be a very bad thing. But that's because there are that I would never assume that everyone there would actually behave according to the Satanic Bible.
Hmm.
This is not a book for like just the masses. This is a book for the select few who are seeing themselves in these pages. If people did uh, and apply themselves in the way that the Satanic Bible describes, it would be you would probably it would be teleonic, and people would be a lot more careful about what they're doing and saying. But aside from that, it would be
Best case, it would be like this
so
anarchic utopia.
yeah, essentially.
Right.
Like what people wouldn't have to be worried about things because most of the time we're just leaving each other alone or gathering with other like-minded people and just honestly having a good time. It's
Right.
not it's not even about impulse following, frankly. It's that is, I understand why people think of hedonism when Satanism is mentioned. I do
Right.
understand that, but but part of this is about the mastery of the self, the mastery
Mm,
of these impulses. Um,
mm,
I the at least the current high priest Peter Gilmore has referred to it as an Epicurean philosophy
mm,
before, meaning that it's we we indulge, but we don't overindulge. We make sure that we are always in control of the way
mhm,
we're indulging, and
mm,
because it is it is so easy to branch off from hedonism into addiction, and that would mean relinquishing our own control over ourselves. And what kind of devotee are you of yourself if you're allowing yourself to be addicted to anything?
right. Well, that makes perfect sense in the context of how you've explained it so far. Let me ask you this question. It just popped into my mind. You were talking about Baphomet earlier. Can you
Yes.
explain who that is, what that is, if there's any relevance to modern Satanism?
Well, I mean, the necklace I'm currently wearing is the sigil of Baphomet, so it has certainly some relevance here. The I I sadly don't recall the exact origins of the would-be deity at this point. The Baphomet is, however, hermaphroditic. I remember that much. Um, he is the goat-faced. Is the goat-faced goat-faced
Hermaphrodite, like you said, it's a hermaphrodite,
goat-faced
half goat.
with wings and such. It's a all of the basically all of the people who are doing the interested in the whole occult as above so below kind of thing, like are they're all familiar with this guy, but
Mhm.
the sigil itself is, I don't remember where it was. Was this like an Egyptian thing? I don't remember honestly. The I do remember that the sigil of Baphomet is comprised of one element from the Greeks. Yeah, from the Greeks, he's going there we get the Pythagorean pentagram, um, which, as Da Vinci noted, was like the golden ratio, basically. Like it's a way of acknowledging nature's perfect harmony. Um, then there is a handful of Hebrew symbols around the circle that spell out Leviathan. That well, I'm sure you know about Leviathan. Uh,
Well,
he
tell me, Leviathan, is that it wasn't was that a whale or something or a monster under the sea?
a massive sea beast. Yes, yes. The the only creature to that point that supposedly the god you are worshiping was afraid of. That was supposedly conquered in that portion of the book, but nevertheless, he's there. And then, so yeah, it must be the the goat face. It must be connected to something Egyptian because I
So
remember
you
it
don't
being.
believe there's a Leviathan in the sea?
No. No, Leviathan to me represents, for one thing, the ocean, but also just like
The
the
darker part of the subconscious, maybe?
that too, and um the collected, not collective, collected passions that sprawl forth from within, which is the yeah.
Mm. So who are the original Satanists, I guess, is the question. And what were they all about?
That are we talking about people who actually called themselves Satanists?
Give me both answers if you don't mind.
um, well, I would say the original Satanist was this inevitably going to be Anton LaVey because he was the one who founded the church, and he was a San Franciscan carnival old carnival barker back in the 60s, I guess, born in 1930. Yeah, and he did a whole host of things that he was just a very worldly fellow. He knew a lot about a lot. He was interested in a wide array of different pursuits, and he was a police photographer for the San Francisco police.
Hmm.
He was, and and of course, if you research any of this outside the conversation, and you'll find a lot of people are like actively trying to debunk it, and there are a few people who are also interested in saying like, well, if can I counter this counterclaim as well? And it usually it ends up being more likely than not that yes, he actually did do these things, but
Such
that
like what things? Sorry, like horrific things.
no. You'll hear some of that from his daughter at some point, but she's um
So you
the
were just referring to him having this wide life experience.
yeah, because a lot of people, when they hear that he was a carnival barker, that he was a photographer for the police, that he was a lion tamer,
Hmm.
that he was various that he played for the San Francisco Symphony briefly. I believe he was an oboist. A lot and that he had a brief affair with Marilyn Monroe. um, all of this, it sounds wild, and he probably understood that at the time, but a lot of people are under the impression that he was just cultivating his own mythology,
Hmm.
and and it is easy to dismiss once you have like a few key details, but also it's once you dive into why those key details might actually be incorrect, that it becomes, wow, he might actually have done all this,
Hmm.
and for for various purposes, I like to go with that version of the story. Um, he Yeah, he had a hell of a time trying to herd cats as his philosophy and his church grew in number, and it would have been very easy to let the church die as a sort of cult of personality, but it went past that, and and he conducted lectures and various rituals, and he was very deeply loved by all the people that he elected to surround himself with, and it's a shame that I never got to meet him.
Right.
And but I will say, as for de facto Satanists, let's say, before that, LaVey himself was deeply influenced, dare I say, by, for instance, the old like romantic poets like Lord Byron and Baudelaire, Voltaire.
Mm.
There's a whole bunch, like Percy Shelley, stuff like that. Um, there were magicians. The my favorite magician that comes up in like more extensive biographies is actually Austin Osman Spare. I want to say his name is. Um, I know that's his name. I just don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Uh, the the big brain behind something called chaos magic, which is not the most far removed from what satanic magic actually is, but we are. I will say, for the definitive record, as I'm discussing this with you here, Aleister Crowley was not a Satanist. Not a Satanist.
Why not?
So, because he was doing his own thing. The religion that he founded was called Thelema.
And the difference is what?
For one thing, he's more of a spiritualist. And actually, you, with your deep interest in extraterrestrial stuff, that
Yes.
you might actually be interested in looking into him too, because there are various approaches to his path, again, Thelema, that acknowledged Iavos, I want to say he called him, the big, like, the head honcho at the top of his hierarchy, which he did to some extent believe in a higher power. Some people
Which was a what? Which was a spiritual entity?
supposedly, yeah, and they are all, and but some people think he was referring low key to extraterrestrial stuff. So, like, that might be so
Like channeling or something, right?
right. Yeah. Like, you might be interested in that sort of thing.
Yeah, spooked out by
despite
it. I mean, I'm interested in it in the sense that, geez, if it's real, I mean, do I want to know? Part of my thing now is like, if the truth is dark, do I really want to know? And so that's what I was going to ask you. Like, and so this is clarifying it up though. Your school of thought is no, it's really not mystical. Correct me if I'm wrong, but there's nothing that spooky going on here. There's nothing. Uh, is My question was going to be: is the world simply as we see it? Or is there something much more spectacular going around? In the Crowley view, certainly it sounds like yes.
my personal perspective, not shared by every Satanist here, but I would say both, in the sense that it is very much a phenomenological world, but also, um, never discount the wild ways in which the way you're perceiving something can affect that which you are perceiving.
Mm,
I if only because the most mundane version of that idea is just that you're perceiving something, and then you are interacting with it differently, and that interaction affects it, and thus, it becomes or
there's a
behaves
communication.
right, exactly. and that's not exactly the same thing as thinking of something in a certain way and having that affect it. But I mean, low key, it's an extension of that principle. Um, the I like my one of my favorite things to say at this point is that the world is so much. The world is at this time the most wonderful it's ever been, and people are. There are a lot of people who are under the impression that we're living in very dark times,
Mm,
and like, they're like troubled by everything. You have a fully functioning computer in your pocket 100% of the time.
mhm.
You're telling me you can do nothing with that to affect the way that your world works, and thus build yourself up so that you can increase, like, the reach of what you do,
Right,
please.
right, right.
It's
No, I like that.
there are things here this way. I am guessing that you see Elon Musk as a highly intelligent man. Is that correct?
Yeah, I would say
Yeah,
that.
great. So I would say, I myself, I have the fortune of being the son of one member of Mensa and one person who just barely missed the mark which
Mm.
means very likely that I am like right at that point myself.
Hmm.
That said,
No wonder I'm having so much trouble understanding what you're saying.
the I think no, I think you're actually quite intelligent yourself, frankly. The
That's what I was fishing for. Thank you. Please proceed.
it's my my pleasure.
So you have
the-
this genetic.
you and I are going to see more than someone, let's say 20, 30, 40 IQ points below us, right?
Sure.
So the the stuff that's going on behind the scenes that you alluded to just a few minutes ago, I think, for instance, Elon Musk is seeing more than you or I are seeing on like at any given moment. That that I'll believe. I'll believe that people beyond certain intelligences
Mm.
are seeing more there than what you or I see, and that you or I are seeing much more than someone with lower intelligence is seeing. I don't consider that. I think it is a leap to consider that in a spiritual sense, because that is part of the phenomenal world as far as I can tell. If you can offer me a I just say when people are talking about spirits and souls and whatnot,
Hmm.
how is it? I mean, how do you think of these? Like, define spirit, define soul,
Right.
and the problem with this, obviously, is that we're talking about things that are immaterial.
Right.
Like
So by
definition.
definition, you cannot.
But exactly, this is the whole point. Like
Right.
that
And
no
that's
one
maybe where the faith concept comes in.
and you're the first person I've talked to about this. I swear that who has while I'm talking about this actually been able to leap forward and say like, oh yeah, all the words that we use are we use them to talk about stuff that is material. So that like we can't talk about this stuff.
Hmm.
God, that's refreshing.
Right.
Yeah, it's the whole thing. I am not of the opinion that there is anything outside the natural world. I think it's all extensions of the natural world, and I although I will I don't talk about the supernatural. I will talk about the supernormal.
Mm.
But that's just extraordinary experience, like the like when you're uh favorite artist or band, go.
Oh, well, shit. I mean, I grew up on Nirvana.
Okay, perfect,
So
perfect,
yeah.
perfect. So when you I know I can go there easily. When you are witnessing for the umpteenth time their performance during MTV Unplugged
Yes.
of all apologies,
Sure.
that is, you would say, an experience elevated high above your normal experience, correct?
Correct.
Super normal. It's varying degrees of that applied to just general experience and whatnot, but music does that a lot of the time.
Right. Yeah. No, there's something. I mean, look, this is all about trying to, as like we said at the beginning, understand the human experience
Yes.
and thrive in it. And so, in that sense, what I've heard from you today is not particularly disturbing. People will have strong views about it. Is there anything else before I ask you? Just get your quick take on politics and one other topic, which I'm sure I'll remember what it was in a second. The other thing I wanted to ask you about. But before we move on from our conversation so far, any loose ends you want to tie up or anything you feel like you want to just comment on?
I will say I'm annoyed with myself that I never found myself to answering rather the one question about Satanism being evil. um,
Yeah. Thank you.
And I want to get that out of the way before we move on here. Um, the problem of evil, so to speak. Nietzsche, I believe, did a fantastic job of investigating terms such as good, bad, and evil from like where they originated and whatnot.
Mm,
And evil is evil is just a concept as far as I'm concerned. And
mhm,
the concept was attached, generally speaking, from the slaves, the serfs, the hoi polloi, to people who were of like the elite class, the priests, the nobles and such. And this is not a concept apparently that was used among like nobility and all that.
so you're saying
And
the lower classes use the word evil to describe the upper classes?
yeah, basically,
Okay.
essentially. And it's funny that this comes this comes along with this it is used often to describe behaviors and actions and to denounce them, obviously. The actions that result in further self gratification, like for instance the
Mm,
sins, like we're talking about, like wrath, lust, envy, all of these, the big seven deadlies. Like this is all like denounced as tools of the devil, tools of evil, etc., etc. But really, especially if you master all of these concepts, then you are like, is there any way for you not to say that you are living your life to the fullest? Like the the idea, no one ever says to the monk hidden away in the cave or whatever, who is depriving himself of every
pleasure.
pleasurable experience known to man,
Mhm,
including envy, by the way, which is just a way of saying, oh, I kind of like that.
mm,
I wish I had that as well, and and actually pursuing it. It's just ambition. The No one ever says of him, yeah, he's living his life to the fullest.
mhm. That's very interesting. That is
And
so interesting.
as
Yeah.
the line goes in somewhere in the Satanic Bible, we always we notice that. I'll leave it. I'll give it to you for a bit here. What is evil spelled backwards?
Live.
And so, if as the late
That's
Magus
interesting.
LeVay once mentioned somewhere in the Satanic Bible, I'm pretty sure, if evil we are, live we will.
Mm. Yeah, no, I mean, there's a beautiful poetry in that. I won't deny that, at the very least. I mean, that's, certainly can't deny that. So, the Gnostics, because when you
That I'll give.
are what's that?
That I will give you the Gnostics. The Gnostics,
Tell me.
they're
Because they would
they're a
say,
fun
wouldn't they
bunch.
say, pardon me, but wouldn't they say, we're living in the simulation for them is, hey, look, extra dimensional entities or entity feed off your energy, your life energy. And so by actually, in their view, the monk is actually freeing himself of the feeding of this other dimensional entity, whereas the
Yeah.
people who are living their lives to the fullest are just feeding that thing.
Yes.
It sounds crazy, but this is one set of theories when you have to consider everything to try to find your worldview.
Absolutely. This is exactly why. Like when I was studying Nietzsche, he actually he made I noticed that he made a point. He fully agreed with the Buddhists that
Mm,
that life is full of suffering. because you see, for the Buddhist, the suffering is the desire. The suffering is the like me looking at some hot chick and saying, yes,
Oh,
I'd like to do
fuck, I'd
various things
like
with
that.
her.
Excuse me.
And
I'll
like,
be cruder.
I and like seeing like this bountiful feast and like and like just like going right over and like allowing your hunger to take over
Mhm,
for a moment at
mhm,
least, and just like pigging out, and then and realizing after that that it's like you feel you feel bloated and whatnot, and like so suddenly your hunger is to like get your body back into shape
mm,
and make sure that like your pride
mhm,
is properly fed, blah blah blah,
mhm, mhm,
and various degrees of any other sin, frankly.
mhm,
All of this is
mm.
suffering, and where he believed, Nietzsche, that is, that the Buddhists got it wrong was, why are you depriving yourself of all of these? Like, yes, please, sir, give me more suffering. Get good old suffering. We
More,
love the
please.
suffering.
Right. Wow. That's fascinating. It's really interesting. So, man, I could talk about this stuff and maybe we'd have to, maybe, I'd love to do it again sometime because
Absolutely.
it's endlessly interesting. Would I be correct to say regarding politics, hey, you're happily aligned with Trump, generally speaking, because this is the movement that preaches self agency and self respect and self esteem loosely. Is that fair?
I would extend that to saying that America is my home. If I'm going, I want America to have the greatest agency that is available to her, and and the choices that I've had for roughly the last decade or so have been, once I stopped listening to the fear mongers, um, fairly obvious. Aside from that,
Hmm.
that is an excellent heuristic of where I come from, and mind you, for people who are people who are tuning in who are members of my church or who are curious about my church. No, this is not a universally accepted position among Satanists. This is the Church of Satan's membership runs the political gamut. Like that, like
Hmm.
there's no no ifs, ands, or buts about that.
Right.
I am far from the only one who is on the conservative end, far from the only one who is a, let's say, fairly open supporter of Trump. I You know what? Just so I can actually say that I've said it on a podcast now, President Trump. I like
Hmm.
because I like the phrase. But I am, however, the only Satanist I know who who helped him campaign. I've never like I have like made phone calls and whatnot.
Mm.
Like especially during that last month or so that he was on the trail.
Wow.
He was um once once Butler happened, I I'm like no, I can't let this is not something I can allow
Right.
to
That's the
stand.
exact moment, of course, that I decided
Yeah.
essentially. I mean, Kennedy endorsed immediately after, and that was it for me. That was a pivotal moment for a lot of people. Wow.
I couldn't handle this, and it was just like I did not know who his vice presidential pick at the time was going to be. I was pushing hard for him to pick Tulsi. He did not, but she did end up in his cabinet, and
Hmm.
I look forward to, yeah, why not? I'll say it here. I look forward to campaigning more directly with her, and I look forward to playing at her inauguration whenever that happens. And
Right.
but that's that immense future plan aside. The I did eventually grow to really quite enjoy JD Vance, and
Right.
I was happy to make dozens and dozens and dozens of calls for him during the
Mm.
campaign. Even
Wow.
though, truth be told, I only spoke to a few people. It was the one time that I did speak to like like someone who was already going to be um already like taking several friends with him to go vote the next day.
Right.
Uh,
That's great.
he was honestly he was so excited that I was doing this, and he was very gracious about receiving my call, and we talked for like 5 minutes, and then he hung up, and then I cried for another 5 minutes because it was just, I was so overwhelmed with just joy that like the that it was like, I believe I was calling someone in Nevada at that point. He was obviously, he was in a swing state,
Hmm.
and I'm just, I was so grateful that I was that much closer being certain that the outcome that I so deeply wanted was in fact going to happen. And then he got the most votes any
Mm.
arguably any candidate has
Right.
gotten, but
Right. That's a can of worms. Yeah.
but very certainly the most votes that
Republican.
any Republican
Yeah.
has ever gotten. And after the debacle in the earlier part of my life with George W. Bush, whom I despised, I I saw this, and I am just so proud, just so proud.
Yeah.
The I am I am able in various ways. I don't like everything he's done. Who does?
Right.
But
Directionally.
yeah, yeah, like the big points, and this, and honestly, usually the stuff that I don't like is stuff that is usually like it doesn't really go anywhere. Like meaning that like the rhetoric about jailing people for flag burning, for instance,
Right.
is like,
Right.
I don't
No,
like
I know
that.
exactly what you mean.
But then I hear from varying sources that the executive order in question
Right.
actually makes it so that like it's a worse penalty if you're burning the
Very
flag.
rarely have any of the worst of the concerns that a
Yeah,
reasonable
exactly.
person might have really come to bear. That's not mean to doesn't mean to say that there haven't been any and that there
Sure.
nothing to be concerned about, but generally speaking, I agree with
Uh,
you.
and
Exactly.
the notions of it's a funny thing, speaking as a member of Trump Force 47, that not just that, but a satanic member of Trump Force 47,
Yeah.
that that the people, some of whom are in my church, who are concerned about the swing toward Christian nationalism,
Yeah.
which I honestly didn't know was a thing until the past few years, frankly. But
Right.
um, the kind of thing that I saw as a real threat in Christian nationalism was during the Bush era.
Mm.
For instance, the push for the amendment to ban same-sex marriage,
Mhm.
that which is very
Mhm.
fundamentally let's say beyond religiously theistically based.
Mhm.
Um, as is, I'm sure it doesn't shock you to hear, I don't particularly care about that sort of thing.
Right.
People in my priesthood have been performing same-sex marriages for quite some time now. Um, but that was a big reason that I originally registered as a Democrat.
Mm.
And only later did I find that George W. Bush actually was a horrible example of the kind of of just conservatives in general, frankly. And then, I'm not sure if you are aware of this, but one of the people who was, let's say, punished for her actions in standing against all of this Kim Davis recently brought an appeal to the Supreme Court to see if they petition them to overturn
Right.
Obergefell,
And they said
basically.
no.
Yeah, they did, and they didn't even hear her out.
Right.
It was just, this is a mostly at this point Trump appointed conservative Supreme Court. We got 6 of the 9 who are
Could do it.
supposedly on his side,
You could do
and
it.
the way that they would have heard it is if 4 they just needed to have 4 of these 6 of technically the
Right.
9, but of these 6 to be interested in reviewing that decision. This means that at maximum 3 were interested in doing it.
Hmm.
And this is, again, 2/3 of this bench is conservative at this point.
Right.
That
No, it's
issue is dead as far as
right.
I'm concerned.
It is, I think, and I hope, I would say,
Right.
and it's your perspective is such a litmus test on what MAGA is. It's such an interesting commentary on what MAGA is.
True.
It's so with I don't want to go too much longer into it, but we could have an interesting conversation about trans issues, I would say, and children and all of that.
Okay.
Do you want to give me 30 seconds on your perspective on that one? Is it qualitatively different?
Honestly, my perspective in a nutshell at this moment is I am I'm kind of I am kind of I am in favor of accepting basic biology, but
Mm.
also where that ends, I'm not exactly sure.
Right. So, I mean,
It's not
there
something.
is such a thing as a trans person. I mean, I'm not one of these people who says there isn't. I mean, so I agree with some of the, but it's hard to say. But if you accept that premise, then it becomes tricky. Like, oh, well, wait a minute.
Right. It's like it's almost like an impossible dance because it's like we're
You
people
either
like
have to reject it or accept it wholly. Uh,
people like us. We are open to the idea of of allowing people to be as comfortable as they can with who they are, and
mhm,
sometimes that means sometimes that will mean um like like some specific body modifications and
mhm,
whatnot. And honestly, at least for adults, I have that like, go ahead and do your thing, man. Just like just I I am less. I have some investment in the sports issue and like that kind of
right.
the fairness and all that, because men and women are not equal. We are not interchangeable beings. But aside from that, it's I'm less concerned about everything, and I have the suspicion that by the time I really settle down on how I feel and think about all of this, it's going to be it's no longer going to be an issue.
Right.
There's a lot of I've done some research about this with Grok too. The the way the way the public and the way the just general discourse is proceeding around all of this, the more what I would consider scarier parts of the fringe scary parts of this issue
Mhm.
are
Receding.
really dying down, and at a fairly rapid pace. That doesn't mean there's no pushback, obviously,
Mhm.
but the stuff that is pushed by, I would say bad faith
Radical gender Marxists.
Sure, we'll go there. We'll go there. Sure.
I mean, I'm half joking.
The I'm like you say that, and my brain immediately goes like, I'm not. I'm just being honest at that point.
Right. I only said half. Yeah.
Like I but I say again, they are bad faith though, and that's my main issue with them. Well, I don't know about my main issue,
Mhm.
but that is, for whatever reason, it is in fact dying down. And I say once again, I am speaking on behalf of myself here, because the because the Church of Satan itself is, I'm not going to say wildly unconcerned exactly, but there is an enormous amount of opinions, like, among the membership about these specific issues, and I am in no way speaking as an official representative for that specific issue here. Um, well, um, I will say the closest I think the Church of Satan in a general way would be, as long as the individuals in question are acting of their own free will, and and um and especially presenting themselves in a way that does that is at least clear, which is not to say like presenting, not like female presenting or whatever. I'm saying like, just allow your be coherent, I would say, with what you're about and whatnot. And especially once you're an adult, it's very live and let live.
Right. And that will question is where the age of consent comes in, and is that the
Right.
proper line, and children,
Yes.
and so to put a bow on it, I think hopefully you'll agree if I say, well, I'll just speak for myself. There have been excesses, and I'm in favor of rolling back the excesses. At the same
Right.
time, always operating from a place of humility and understanding and respect, and treating people with dignity, and live and let live for adults. Certainly, I think that's a space. That's where I am. And I think that's where most of MAGA is. And I think people confuse the desire to roll back those extremes with the desire to eliminate. And that's where you get the Charlie
Right.
Kirk
Right.
assassination. Now
Like
Charlie Kirk won, so it's just so
yeah,
it's
no, like when Michael Knowles did that Jubilee episode, for instance, when he was saying that his claim that transgenderism should be eradicated from the public sphere,
mhm,
what I heard and what the people who were surrounding him heard were two very different things.
right,
And he was that he was interpreted constantly during that episode as saying that transgender individuals essentially should be executed. And
right,
it's like, no, that is not the
right,
ism. There's no one hearing
right,
the ism at this point. Like,
right.
this is far from what he's saying. But
And from the public sphere is doing a lot of work.
yeah,
Not to say that it's appropriate to like erase people's identity from society, but that to me is a reference to, hey, let's get it out of second grade reading time at
yes,
the public
that was
school.
it. Especially, God, why are we talking about any sexual thing at all
Right.
at that
I mean,
point?
I've got a Satanist here who's agreeing with me to get the sex out of the classroom. So
Yes,
that's amazing.
absolutely. That was the I I have a lot. Speaking as someone who has gone through the entire public education system, including a public Ivy school, UC
Mhm.
Berkeley, like go Bears.
Mhm. Mm.
I the um the amount, but like, don't like I appreciate the idea of sex ed and all that, but like, it needs it needs to be as clinical as possible, and
Mhm.
very much it should be later in life.
Right. Right.
Like why are you doing this in the second grade? Like
Right.
no one is
Right.
even it like no one is even
Horny yet.
we're
My
all
God.
that there's that they like we're all waiting several years at this point even to develop enough to understand exactly what
Right.
you're talking
And so
about,
it
like
obviously
how you're
becomes
talking.
about conditioning.
Yeah.
And look, I mean, if someone was sitting in front of me right now who did that, I would say, look, I understand from your perspective, you are trying to condition the children to accept something that you think is acceptable. And I understand that. So there's a dialogue to take place. But um, no, as it stands right now, I think there have been excesses. And
Yes,
if, that's where I stand for the moment. So final question for you, good sir.
please.
Aliens. You got Congressman Arlena. I used to never remember her name, but I've said it so much now. I've thought about the topic so much that I think I have it. Alina Polina Luna.
Oh,
She
Anna
says,
Paulina Luna.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
Anna Polina Luna. There you go. She's on Rogan. She's on all these saying interdimensional beings are real. Crap. You've got Congressman Burchett. I always do that. I think from Tennessee, who's a fun character, a cool guy, who says there's 5 to 6 deep underground bases. Um, Age of Disclosure came out. Did you watch that yet?
No.
Okay. So, I mean, look, it's nothing. I mean, it was good. It was really good. But it's nothing you didn't know if you're into the topic that there are these claims that there are these crafts and there are beings and who knows where they're from, if they're down here or out there or in another dimension. But um, I, I guess your view would be, hey, look, it doesn't really matter because I am the chief architect of my life. I mean, really, right? That's what Satanism would say.
I that is at very least that's what I would say. The but I will say there are uh there's at least a large handful. There's probably more that I haven't considered at this point, who are invested and believe to whatever degree as you do. Um, Obviously, considering what we've been discussing this entire time, the question of them being angels or demons is kind of a laughable one to people like us, but
Mhm.
or rather, I should say, people like me. But
Right. I'm
but
very much, yeah. Please, thank you. I appreciate that. I don't know where I am yet.
yeah, sure, of course, and why would you be like the
Right.
like the you are
I haven't really
unaware.
gone through my spiritual adulthood.
Yes, it's true. Honestly, I have at this point I have discovered what I am, a Satanist, and have acknowledged that on a personal level for 15 years now. I did not come to any of these conclusions lightly. This
Hmm.
has been literally over a dozen years in the
Hmm.
making. All of everything I'm saying,
Hmm.
and aliens is aliens is it can be a fun question. There is I will say, at least when I first joined, there was a program within my church of it was a group dedicated to SETI research, meaning
Hmm.
search for the extraterrestrial intelligence
Hmm.
research. Um, as far as I am aware, that has turned up nothing, which is
Hmm.
the least shocking thing I have ever heard. But um, then, which is it's funny you bring up Representative Luna because she is the first and to this day only person in Congress actually following me, and
Hmm. Interesting.
that is it was completely unrelated to anything we're talking about.
Hmm.
I was just being supportive of her, and
Right.
she
She hit
opted
you
to
with a follow.
exactly, and I'm like,
Nice.
um, and then she appeared on the cover of Maxim. That was fun. But and I actually have someone in the Trump administration following me back too. But that's a whole different thing.
Right.
But um, the I can I'm ready to accept that there is some weird shit going on that no one seems really to know about. But I also, with that, I take the caveat that I am at this point more convinced than not that it's just like if
Secret human
invest
tech.
investigated down to the more, I dare I say, molecular level, is just like this, whatever it is going to be very mundane, and it's like this is not going to be like world shattering at all. Like it would be fun if there
What do you
were
mean? What's the this?
this.
Like in that sentence, what are you saying would be very mundane?
Oh,
The revelation that we have aliens amongst us or something?
The notion that what would be mundane, I'm saying, is what you were saying, like secret human tech, or like
Right. I see.
it was like it's
Right.
like, oh, this is something that someone discarded somewhere, and we accidentally took it to be some like mysterious object from another fucking planet.
Mm.
And I am, it's fun to think about because I mean, for
It becomes
decades.
frightening, though, to be honest with you. It really does. Even if
Why?
you're, someone who is kind of like more on the side of, okay, I could integrate with this if it is true, but geez, it's ontologically shocking for anyone if it is true. But even for someone who could maybe accept it eventually, it's like, geez, I was thinking about this in the shower. I was like, man, that really would blow my mind if it was true. If there were grays running around for the mantids who are running things. I mean, are you effing serious? You've got serious people who are, Danny Sheehan, that lawyer, the white hair. He's on some aliens. He's
Oh, maybe I actually do know that name.
uh,
Either way.
he. I mean, he's like a very serious constitutional scholar. Worked on like every single important groundbreaking case in history since like the 60s, and he's on this. And he's got an institute, and I've heard him
Yeah,
on podcasts, and I've heard he really believes that there are mantids, dude. I mean,
yeah, no, I mean, like that is perfectly consistent with the way I think, honestly, because the not to say that I agree with all of that, but it
right.
is I I am under the impression that people like to the human brain evolved very well to see patterns whether or not they're there.
Hmm.
This is why cavemen were able to escape when escape danger that was not there when
Always
they
sensing
saw.
the line in the bushes, even if it's
Right,
not there.
exactly. Um, and this is what has helped us survive it and whatnot. And
Hmm.
but here
Mm.
I would argue even.
There's no mantid in the bushes.
Well, I would argue that, but I was actually going to make a point about Candace Owens at this point. But
Oh,
the
sorry to interrupt.
no, not it was going to be a very throwaway point. I'm
Throw it.
just
No, hit me with it.
Yeah. Have you been paying attention to the Candace Owens nonsense?
You can't. Hard to not see at least the outside of it.
Fair,
Yes.
fair. I a lot of people. I think people, just generally speaking, are want WONT, incidentally, to see what it is they want most to see,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
if they are not
Mm.
provided with sufficient counterbalance to those ideas,
Then it ramps
then
up.
and yeah, yeah. I think we're in the middle of
Hmm.
seeing some a real unraveling in that particular instance, and the assassination of Charlie Kirk was in fact much more mundane than she
Hmm.
she would like to have thought.
Right.
But
Yeah.
where aliens are concerned too, I like I am like Representative Luna, for instance.
Mhm.
I really I don't. It should go without saying that she and I, especially metaphysically speaking, do not align. But
Mhm.
but I really love her spirit. I really do, and she's clearly entertaining at least the notion of extraterrestrial entities as angelic or demonic and all that. I'm not,
Yeah.
the way the theistic mind works, that perhaps you would allow me to say you are perhaps a prime example of this,
Mm.
of of if you are if you are so inclined, then it makes the idea that these entities of which you are still in possession of no evidence,
Mhm.
like whatsoever,
Mhm. No
to
direct evidence for sure.
sure, to that, like, you can allow your brain to go on like wild goose chases, like in
Mhm.
your own head and whatnot. But also, that's also not to discount like the experiences, or perhaps experience. I'm not even sure which I remember being that you've had with
Well, I
UFO.
saw Craft. Definitely saw Craft.
Right, exactly. So like that whole
100%.
thing, I have had experience kind of like that, frankly, and it was funny because a friend of mine who was in a band with me at the time, I he brought me out. He and outside the outside into the rehearsals, outside of the rehearsal space, and he he recited Enochian
Mhm.
into the air,
Mm.
and in the sky a blue orb appeared,
Mm.
and he hyped this up, saying that like as soon as you see it you'll feel something and then you'll understand. And then I like it appeared, and then I'm like, I felt nothing, man, sorry.
Mm.
It's
But
the
it had to
and
have blown your mind.
I found like I found it interesting. I didn't know I the in the same way, like Dr. Peterson, for example, has talked about like has talked about the resurrection of Christ, right, and all
Mhm.
that. And he's saying that he suspects that if he had been there at that on that day at that
Mhm.
time,
Mhm.
then he suspects that yes, he would have seen Jesus like coming out of the tomb or whatever, right?
Mhm.
And but he follows that up immediately by saying, but I have no idea what that would mean. Like
Mm.
it's like he even
Mm.
accepting the event as being there, it's like that doesn't by necessity mean that like everything else just falls into place. It's like I don't like that could have several different meanings as far as I'm concerned. I take the same approach with basically everything, but especially with events like this, because it's
Mhm.
like the blue orb appears, like, all right, yeah, that's an orb. I don't know what that
Mm.
means, but it's an orb.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, my sighting was, it was a big orange plasma energy ball that flickered on and off 15 times.
Orange.
Well, real quick, I mean, it was 5:15 a.m. on Tuesday, March 4th, earlier this year. I was walking my dog, Rosie. We turned the corner onto the main road where I finally had the vision of the sky. Strip mall, low one-story strip malls across the street, open sky, moon in the distance,
Yeah.
5-story apartment building to my right, walking with the building on my right. And I look up because I like to look up. I often look up at the stargazing app and, kind of use that. That's kind of been my thing the last couple of months, or at least it was at the time. And I look up and I kid you not, a silent, fast moving orange ball, big, just like an energy shield from Halo. I mean, just simply an energy shield
Sure.
video game. What, like I say, it's like you're looking at the black sky. Imagine you had a PDF editor app open, you're on a black background, you just put in an orange circle
Sure.
and
Yeah.
it's streaking across the sky, going towards the ocean in a straight line. And I see it for 2 seconds, and you're just like, stunned. You're like, that doesn't belong in the sky. What is an orange ball? And then the orange shield went down, and you just saw three triangular downlights in the shape of an equilateral triangle against what
Mm,
looked like a black craft. Couldn't really distinguish the craft from the sky because they were both black. So I only assume it was also in a
sure.
triangle shape. And then the orange ball came back on. And then it went back off, and it cycled 15 times in about 30 seconds where I saw it till it disappeared towards the ocean and the horizon. I live in San Diego. Could have been some advanced thing. I don't know. I've got a sitting congressman saying that we have underwater bases, and aliens. So I don't know. And then you have Skinwalker Ranch and orbs and crazy shit, and it's like multifaceted, the phenomenon and what is real, man.
Okay, all of this is very fun, and very this is all fascinating. But
Right?
something you just said, as you no doubt
San
saw,
Diego.
you lived in San Diego.
Yeah.
Are you serious right now?
Military.
Okay, so we are neighbors.
Occam's razor.
I live in San Diego.
Oh shit. That's amazing.
We are literally neighbors. Like
That's so cool.
whenever the
That's so
next
funny.
whenever next
Yeah, we'll get together.
we can actually get in, we can actually
That's
do this
cool.
in person.
Right. That's amazing.
That
That
blew
is
my
that is
mind.
really funny. Yeah, I had
Well,
no idea all this time we're interacting.
this entire
But
time,
yeah,
I like when you said Pacific Standard Time. I'm like I wonder if he's up in Oregon or something like that.
right.
No, he's your
I'm
neighbor.
with you, bro. So that is cool, and I look forward to meeting you in person.
Likewise.
So yeah, I mean, who knows? You saw blue. Someone spoke Enochian and summoned a blue orb, dude. I mean, what the fuck is that? So I mean, this is what I'm talking about. What is
And
going on?
the funny part, I think you'll appreciate too. Um, I spoke with someone who is more, let's say, alien friendly than I
Hmm.
about this situation, and I was told, um, I was told, like, yeah, of course you didn't feel anything. That like the one that would actually trigger a response from you would be a red orb.
Mm. And so
Of course
implying this is
I'm connected to the reds.
implying this is a spiritual phenomenon. Then
The
what's the
the
implication there?
the person with whom I was speaking, is also a member of my church's priesthood. So it's like there's a whole thing there, but um, there is the implication is that the of the extraterrestrial mythology. Yeah, it seems that my kind are more akin to the reds than the blues.
Right, that there is this cosmic battle of non-human intelligence, and the soul is the battleground, but people really do believe this stuff.
Oh no, absolutely.
And
They
so,
very much do.
it's the idea that we're not in control, and this speaks to your ideology. No, you are in control. And so asserting your control is comforting in a way where institutions and ideologies seem to be crumbling. And if you take it for granted that this disclosure stuff is true and there's something going on here, well, my goodness, I mean, to think that you're not in control. Now, traditional religion would bring great comfort in a sense because you give the control up to God. So it's all about reality and understanding and accepting and thriving. And hopefully, we're not living in some apocalyptic era. Presumably,
What
what's been
instantly, what would that mean?
just that we are we happen, everyone thinks they're in the most exciting times, or the apocalyptic times and all of that. But the idea that we really are at a point with the atomic bomb and something heard that and came here and said, not so fast, that we are living in a time where, of great, tremendous disruption to the understanding of reality and potentially involving some sort of cataclysm.
I would okay. So the here briefly,
Hmm.
briefly as I can anyway, is my take on all that. The you will agree, I'm sure, that invading, not even invading, pervasive new systems of thought affect the public consciousness in ways that are that make adaptation more difficult, and that make it occur over, let's say, the like hundreds of years. And with that, I would argue that technology and the way we interact, that the way our being, if you will, interacts with that, the consciousness too. All of this, the way we are grappling with our own existence at the same time as we are scrambling to adapt to this new way of interacting with ourselves and with the world,
Hmm.
that is throwing us for a loop, for one, but also we're having to reconcile that the tensions created through those interactions with more, as you might say, traditional religious structures. And if the most the outcome that seems most likely to many people, and has been for decades, if we're being honest, is that all of this, that they all see themselves at a breaking point effectively, and that conjures a sort of apocalyptic feeling.
Hmm.
Whereas me, as a, once again, graduate, UC Berkeley, philosophy,
Hmm.
I
Mm.
see the way all this is happening is just, no, dude, we're just advanced, rather primitive apes who are primates, I should say, who are really
Grappling.
grappling with how to make
Hmm.
greater sense
Hmm.
in the best ways that we can of the way we're interacting with this technology, and how and what that means with the way we interact with our worlds. And that is something that especially higher intelligences are, by which I'm referring to people like Elon Musk
Me and
and
you.
and
Oh,
such.
okay. No. Okay. Just
Uh, no, honestly, I was going for a more obvious example there, but you are absolutely among those people, as am I. I truly, very seriously believe that, especially if these are the these are the people I'm talking about, are really just generally successful people who are actually contributing to the the greater refinement of thought, just
Mm.
generally in the public
Hmm.
space.
Hmm.
um Whether or not they're actually trying to do that or not,
Hmm.
um and I think that I do very much believe that you are part of that, even if even if it would be flattery to suggest that you're in the same general general one, oh, there we go, standard
One
deviation
standard
that
deviation.
Musk
Yeah.
is.
Not
Yeah, yeah.
quite in Elon Musk territory, but
No,
I'll hang
but
on your coattails. That's good enough for me. Thank you.
the it's only an observation, frankly. The especially, I the kinds of nuance that you that the way you express thought allow for load carrying pillars to be
Mm,
set up along the way where
mm,
it would be all too easy for cracks and various fractures and fissures to appear in the general the comforting structure, so to speak, is admirable. And I think that what you're doing, what I am trying to do, especially with my music, and what Dr. Peterson is trying to do with Christianity, even, I think we are all in a collective project to
refine.
tear away
Yes.
the after effects of effectively nihilism that are setting in and could
Mm,
still potentially set in
hmm.
because of these interactions with technology and
Yeah.
ourselves.
That is really tremendous. If it's the case that we only have no aliens, no interdimensional beings, which frankly, on so many levels, I pray is the case because it's really scary if you let yourself go into that. It's like the unknown becomes extremely terrifying, obviously. But so even if it were just the case that we're grappling with our souls, if you to use the term loosely, our psyches, ourselves, and the technology, that alone would put us in a place of tremendous change and upheaval. And
Yeah.
so no doubt. And so if it is the case that there's another layer on top of that, then good Lord, So
it's,
yes,
it, it's it's both utterly it is so much it is it simplifies things a whole lot, and it blows the doors wide open at the same time.
right. I mean, and so at that point, everything becomes pudding up here, and you got to put it back together. Or
And I would for your personal entertainment, and you can enjoy the corollary ideas about this all you want, so that it might comfort you here.
Mhm.
Consider you and I are also interdimensional beings,
I have
definitionally
height, width, right,
and depth.
right.
We are all constantly, and if you as I do
Hmm.
think about time as the fourth dimension, like we're literally moving through multiple dimensions every second of our lives.
Mhm.
And I think I think a mistake that people make in talking about extraterrestrial intelligence as as like interdimensional beings or something like that is to think that like that means they're something more akin to like the time travelers in Slaughterhouse Five or something along
Mm,
those lines, and like they're like beings that are totally beyond our comprehension, totally beyond our capability. Like,
mhm,
no, you are also an interdimensional
mm,
being. Just think about it.
mm,
This is not as fundamentally unraveling as everyone is making
mhm,
it out to be.
right,
And I think that is a step toward remembering what the words we're using actually mean,
right,
and that is very helpful, honestly.
right. No question about it. Well, look, man, I could do this forever, and I hope to do it again, perhaps in person. If
Well,
not, well,
comfort.
do you drink? Do you have would you meet for a beer? I'm curious.
I
I'm not a
I
big
am
drinker, but it strikes me as a curiosity.
sure. I No. And the simplest answer is no. I
Good for you.
the my beverages, I should say, of choice are like sparkling apple cider, milk, and I don't know, ginger ale, something like that.
Right on. Those are
It
all
is
delicious.
I very I am one of perhaps few, though we can get into that at some point later, Satanists who have straight edge.
Yeah, I was gonna say straight edge. Yeah. Interesting. Wow. Do you think?
I don't want it to dilute my mental faculties
Right.
so I can retain as much agency as possible.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. Wow. All right. We'll have to continue another
Yes.
time, but this has been amazing. This is all about understanding the mystery of the universe,
Mhm, mhm.
appreciating the mystery of the universe. You
I
seem
love
like
it
a
every single
guy
day.
who you don't strike me as a guy with any sort of bad intent. So,
No, I hate bad faith people,
right.
honestly.
So I
I
think
really
I
do.
can say that both of us are just, we just want to exist, thrive, see good things happen in
Yes.
our own ways. That makes sense to us.
Honestly, wonderful thing. The
Yeah.
most glorious times are yet ahead of us.
Yeah. Amen, man. I mean, it's funny. It's funny to say that, but cheers to that.
Yes.
So, wonderful conversation, Grigori. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Talk to you soon.